Tears of the Kingdom combat is really hard, right? Maybe it doesn't have to be. Advanced combat looks really cool, really flashy, and super hard. Creators like myself are always going out of their way to learn new ways to make combat look more and more awesome. But is it really impossible to learn combat in 2024? Well, lucky for you, I spent months going out of my way to learn as many advanced combat maneuvers as best as I could so you don't have to search for them by yourself. I went ahead and got a hold of some of the best Tears of the Kingdom combat pros to help me learn as much as I possibly could. Now here's the thing, the learning curve for advanced combat is something that a lot of players struggle with. It takes a lot of time, practice, and patience. But this is 2024, where the average viewer has an attention span of 20 seconds and can't even get through a 60-second video without Minecraft or Subway Surfers gameplay under it. I'm looking at you, TikTok. So how can you avoid all the headaches, research, and practice that comes with learning advanced combat so you can get that sweet instant gratification you're looking for? The secret is to learn the easy shit first. No, I'm serious, that's it. There's so many easy yet flashy techniques out there that even a below average intelligence infant child could learn. But that's not you. You're smart. You're a high IQ gamer. You're better than a brain rot baby. So let's learn some flashy as fuck advanced combat moves and prove to that stupid baby that it'll never be as cool as you are. So I gotta name some real ground floor level tricks so we can get everyone up to speed. Just bear with me. Everyone knows how to swing their sword and shoot their bow. If you don't, then maybe play the game first, then come back to this video. I don't even know why you're here, man. But if you do, congratulations, you're halfway to being a combat professional. So first things first, you gotta know how to Flurry Rush. This super simple move is the absolute first step to making combat fun, and I promise this will get progressively more difficult as we go along, so stick around while we learn this together, step by step. Basically, when an enemy swings at you, you have a short time window before the enemy makes contact with you where you can execute a Flurry Rush, which is essentially just a flurry of attacks in slow motion where the enemy is completely unable to attack you. You can execute this maneuver by simply targeting the enemy using ZL and jumping out of the way using X and a directional input, sideways or backwards, just as the enemy is about to hit you. I'll demonstrate it here so you can easily understand what I mean and can learn to do it yourself. Pay attention and watch closely as I show you what this move looks like. So just lock onto your enemy, wait for them to attack, and jump out of the way. Now that you've learned to execute the Flurry Rush, follow it up with a flurry of attacks by simply spamming Y whilst you're still in the Flurry Rush. Congratulations, you now know how to do the Flurry Rush. So what now? What's next? I can feel your excitement through the screen. You've just learned something new, something awesome, and you're hungry for more. So let's move on to the next step of learning the fundamentals of combat. The next move we're going to learn is the Parry. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet because it's actually fairly simple and in a lot of other games, so there's a good chance you already know what it is and how to do it. Essentially, when an enemy attacks you, much like the Flurry Rush, you have a small window of time where you can execute a parry, deflecting the enemy's attack and staggering them, giving you a window to get a few free hits in on the enemy. So how's it done? Well, when you're fighting an enemy, you're going to want to bring your shield up and lock onto the enemy using ZL, and just before the enemy hits, you're going to want to spring your shield out using A. When successfully executed, you should see a slow motion effect and the enemy gets staggered. Here, let me show you how it's done in full speed, watch carefully. Lock onto the enemy, wait for them to attack, and boom, there we go. Easy parry, free damage. That's it. That's the parry. Nice job. You're doing great and you've learned so much already, but to be honest, this is where it's going to start to get a little hard. Alright, well, you've learned to parry, you've learned to Flurry Rush, and now you're ready to put the work in and learn the real moves. So let's get right into it. The next move is truly the first move that everyone learns when they just start getting into advanced combat, like really getting into it, It's such a simple yet satisfying move that anyone could do. This move is called the Shield Bounce Reset, but everyone just calls it the SBR. Just to prove that this is literally the first move that everyone learns, I'm just gonna choose someone random from a combat server and ask them what it is, just for gits and chiggles.
Hello?
Hi, Kleric. I was wondering, how do you do an SBR?
So when you have something hit your shield, such as an enemy's attack, with good timing you can... giving you a second jump to do something cool with.
What a nice guy. Now, as they mentioned, in order to execute a shield jump, you must hold out your shield and lock onto the enemy using ZL just as they are about to attack. And at the moment that the enemy's attack is going to hit you, you jump forwards into the attack. You've successfully done a shield bounce reset. But without any further actions, the move is sorta useless. You just fall to the ground. In order to make use of an SBR, you're going to want to follow it up with a second jump, either forwards or backwards, and then pull out your bow. This will get you a free easy bullet time so you can shoot your enemies right in the stun spot without putting much effort into it. Let me demonstrate. So just pull out your shield with ZL, wait for the enemy to attack, jump into the attack with Y and a forwards input right as the enemy is going to attack you, and then immediately jump forwards or backwards pressing Y and a directional input whilst equipping your bow pressing ZR. Now just hit their stun spot and go to town with your free damage. Awesome! So you've learned the SBR. You are one step closer to becoming a Tears of the Kingdom combat god. The next step to becoming a combat god is... Sorry, one second. Getting a phone call. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, it's Rinhara5aki, and we've got a fun combat technique for you today. The bomb parry is a maneuver which you can instantly detonate a bomb via parrying it without taking any damage from the bomb. It's a fairly easy, straightforward technique with a lot of great combat applications. It's amazing for crowd control, and it's super flashing and satisfying to pull it off. However, there are a few prerequisites to being able to pull this move off. Otherwise, when attempting the bomb parry, the bomb will just simply drop to the ground without detonating. In order for the bomb to detonate, you have to have a fuse on your shield that outputs damage to the bomb. You can test your fuse by simply holding out your shield in front of an enemy and pressing A. If the enemy takes damage, then you're good to go. Another thing worth noting is that some attachments work better than others. For learning, it's best to start out with a fuse that works really well, such as a soldier's construct horn or a Lionel saber horn. Now let's get into how the bomb parry works. As I mentioned before, it's fairly easy to do. All you have to do is press ZL and A to initiate the parry, then press D-pad up within the next frame. You'll know you've done this correctly when Link has his arm pulled back and not held outwards. The next step then is to press X on the bomb flowers to drop one. Be sure you're not close to any wall in front of you, otherwise you'll get the screen telling you you're unable to drop it. If you've done everything correctly, you should execute the bomb parry. Another trick with the bomb parry is the bomb parry cancel. When using certain elemental fuse attachments, such as a dragon scale or choo choo jelly, dropping the shield at the same time you drop the bomb by hitting D-pad left then X, you can cancel the full parry animation, allowing you to immediately move frame 1 after the parry. The full button combo is ZL and A, D-pad up, press X, then immediately D-pad left, then X again. In doing this, you can immediately follow up your bomb parry with any action you desire, such as drawing your bow out, flurry rushing, or just switching to another fused shield to continue your combo. Using this same mechanic of dropping things on the same frame is drop stacking. By quickly and repeatedly pressing up and holding D-pad after dropping the item on the same frame, you can either stack more bombs for more damage, or mix in some other goodies in there for more interesting effects. In short, the possibilities are endless.
Alright, sorry about that. Now, let's move on to our next move, the L cancel. I'm only going to be talking about the sword beam and weapon throw cancel though, as past a certain version of the game, you can't do the other L cancels that exist, so I'm just going to skip right over those. Let's get right into it. If you sword beam or throw a weapon, you have a recovery animation where you're unable to attack. This move aims to get you straight back into the fight. This is great for really keeping the pace of your clip going and keeping yourself outputting as much damage as you can at a consistent rate. Let's talk about how it's done. If you execute a sword beam or weapon throw while in the air, you're able to bring up your ability menu when you hit the ground by using L. If you tap L at the right time, you can immediately do whatever you want, making for really fluid fights. Let me demonstrate it for you. So just execute your weapon throw or sword beam throw while you're in the air, and then tap L and do whatever action you desire. It's as easy as that.
It's time for the lightning round.
Alright, so there's a few things I really wanted to touch on that don't quite need their whole section, just some small things that are really kind of useful, so let's just dive straight into the lightning round. First, there's the shield jump launch. This one's pretty simple, just fuse a bomb to your shield and execute a shield surf, which will detonate the bomb launching you into the air. Similarly, you can fuse a rocket to your shield and use that to fly yourself forwards. It's also really fun to have a bunch of different fuses on different shields that you can swap through so you can chain different movements and get really cool clips. There's a few other different shield fuses you can test out, like the wings fuse to the shield or the spring fuse to the shield. Just experiment a little. Next up, we have the pivot. Essentially, when you execute a pivot by facing the camera, jumping, and simply tapping R, this will put you in the sword throw animation and make your view immediately snap behind you. I've used this myself for redirecting sword beam throws and also adding a bit of style to my bomb jumps, such as this one inspired by Karaki. Next, we have the dive air dash. When wearing the wingsuit, after a shield jump launch, you can tap R to execute the dive and then hold any directional input. The upwards momentum from the shield jump launch will be transferred to your dive, allowing you to redirect in any position. This can be really useful for moving away from enemies to take a shot at them, or moving into enemies to attack them faster. And finally, we have switch canceling. Although it isn't as fast as it was in Breath of the Wild, you can still do the switch cancel. With the switch cancel, you can cancel the end leg of certain animations, such as parries, so you can keep the pace of your clip consistent and fast. Using this, you can actually chain parries, which can be quite useful when fighting multiple enemies at once. And that there is it for the lightning round. I had just one more thing I wanted to talk about, but I'm actually going to hand it over to my buddy Limcube here, so just a sec.
Hi, my name is Limcube. I am a Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom speedrunner, and not necessarily known for my combat prowess, but definitely known for wanting to understand difficult mechanics and mastering them. One of those mechanics is the combat technique in Tears of the Kingdom known as Keese Orbiting. Keese Orbiting is this very peculiar little technique that allows you to shoot an arrow behind an enemy and have it loop completely around their head and then hit them straight in the eye. It does this by using the homing effect of a Keese eye to lock onto a target when you shoot past the enemy at a certain angle. Rather than curving straight to the enemy's eye, the Keese eye chooses to orbit in a wide radius around the enemy first, and this is what we're going to use. The combo opportunities with this move are really incredible. You could either do some more damage as the Keese eye is orbiting the enemy, or even add different Keese eyes to basically create a really cool looking finisher depending on the elemental effect. There are a few things to note about this move before showing you how to do it though, so let's talk about that first. When shooting with the bow, aiming above the enemy's head, your chances of the shot just simply crashing into the ground raise significantly, which in turn makes this move so much easier to perform on enemies who hold their heads high rather than low, as it gives your arrow more distance between the ground, thus lessening the chances of the Keese orbit failing. Another thing worth mentioning, the distance between you and the enemy is also rather important. The closer or further you are from the enemy will determine the trajectory of the Keese eye, making the orbit either wider or tighter. Now with those intricacies out of the way, let's talk about how to do the move, and it's a rather simple one too. Simply find yourself an enemy, to test the move out on making sure there's nothing behind the enemy and they're not on any weird hills or slopes. The first thing you'll need to do is draw your bow and press up on the D-pad, pulling up the fuse menu. Fuse any Keese eye of your choice to your arrow and aim at your enemy. Now face your bow slightly to the left or right of the enemy, slightly below the top of the head, and let go of the arrow. If you've done the setup right, you should see the Keese eye fly past the enemy's head, circle around them and hit them straight in the eye. That's all there is to it. Mastering the Keese Orbiting technique opens up a world of combat possibilities, offering both practicality and flashiness to your combos. Remember the nuances of distance, angle, and the height of your enemy's head as you execute this move, and this will surely become one of your staples in your repertoire. My favorite way to use the downtime of the arrow circling the enemy's head is actually setting up a boomerang throw to essentially go for a double orbiting finisher combo. Definitely really cool.
Alright guys, that's all that we have for today. Thank you so much to the people who helped me out today. Limcube, Rinhara5aki, Kleric, all those guys, they're super awesome. I'm really glad that they joined me for this video. I hope that you guys learned a lot today. I hope that you can put it all out there and put it all in one place and just become the best combat god that you can be, because honestly, Tears of the Kingdom needs more people doing combat. And thank you so much for watching this video. I'd appreciate it if you dropped a like or a sub or just a comment or anything. Let me know what I can do better. I had so much fun making this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See you later.